28, so we're good. That's a go. Also looking at visibility and cloud coverage. Now, we do have a cloud layer. If you know anything about San Diego, that coastal eddy, that's that cloud layer that banks up against the coastline. That is going to be there. However, the good news is you're going to see the cloud ceiling. That's from the ocean up to the bottom of that cloud. There's enough room there for that recovery effort from an aerial standpoint to still continue. So that continues to be a go. But there will be a period where we won't see the vessel coming through a layer of clouds, and then it'll reappear, and hopefully that's going to be great, and we're going to get all the aerial support needed. And then of course there's vessels in the ocean getting ready for that. There is a storm I do want to mention that is just to the north into Northern California, Central California. Timing couldn't be better. That doesn't arrive till tomorrow. So again, this is all looking very successful and positive as far as the weather picture is concerned for the splashdown. David.
All right, 3 minutes, 55 seconds left until re-entry. Leslie Lopez, ABC News meteorologist, telling us essentially that the weather is cooperating significantly here. A number of factors around the splash zone, but not the zone itself, which is really encouraging to hear. Mission Control saying just moments ago that it will be, as we were saying earlier, a true 6 minutes of silence from these astronauts when they re-enter the atmosphere in about 3.5 minutes from now. Susan, as those astronauts like to say, they're just doing the work, but are you feeling the nerves right now?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I like to think of how the families are feeling.
Yeah.
The families are probably extremely nervous, and I get that. I mean, I understand that. They are going, I mean, we're looking for 3 things to happen perfectly. The attitude is set. They have to maintain that attitude. The heat shield has to hold, and the parachutes have to do their job. And those families aren't going to be happy until their loved ones are on that Navy ship.
That is completely understandable. In fact, we've kept sort of an arm's length from the families. I know they're very proud of their loved ones, but they want to see them home before they then tell us about what this has been like. And we get that, as you understand firsthand. Let's listen in, because we're just about 2 minutes away. Let's listen to Mission Control.
3 minutes from entry interface. 16.5 minutes till splashdown.
So 2 minutes to re-entry, 16 minutes until splashdown.
The USS John P. Murtha and the recovery team is on station and in position, as are the airborne imagery assets that we hope to receive imagery from as Artemis enters the Earth's atmosphere and through parachute deployment.
And Susan, take us inside NASA right now, because they too have spoken often about the tension, the anxiety, the concern that they feel. You know, they're doing their jobs too, but they feel it back at Mission Control.
Absolutely. They're on the world stage. And I used to sit at the Capcom desk for shuttle launches and re-entries. And yeah, it's a nervous time. But everybody is hyper-focused on their particular job.
No issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
NASA confirming what we heard from Leslie there in Southern California, that the weather is a go. Something they have watched for days, these weather systems and the patterns. It is a go for splashdown. We're about 1 minute away from re-entry. And again, we've mentioned it here, but for those of you just joining us, this is ABC News live coverage of Artemis 2 returning from its historic journey around the moon and back.
Coming up on 1 minute until entry interface.
You know, the launch 10 days ago is also high anxiety. But after that moment, getting through this historic journey, the next major test is the one about 30 seconds away now, the re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, 24,000 miles per hour. Facing
Mark 1 minute until entry interface.
1 minute, they're saying. We can take our countdown down now. We'll listen
until the
into
expected
NASA
start of our 6 minute blackout.
For this critical moment. Let's listen.
Integrity, 1 minute to a 6 minute blackout.
Integrity.
Again, the re-entry at any moment. We will not be hearing from the astronauts on integrity.
10 seconds till entry interface. And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second. Time to splash down, 13 minutes, 10 seconds.
This is incredible to witness, and Susan, I gather that's some of the heat right there.
Yes, that's the plasma.
The plasma and the heat surrounding this capsule.
And as predicted, we've entered our communications blackout.
Is what leads to the blackout.
This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew.
No voice, no data from the crew, as we're hearing from NASA right now. Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi, an astrophysicist, science educator, has been with us for our coverage these last 10 days. And Hakeem, you've been great throughout. This is one of the most anxious times of the entire journey.
This is the true test of our trajectory.
Absolutely it is. I am sitting on the edge of my seat just like the rest of you, waiting to see these parachutes deploy and a safe splashdown.
Aircraft in the vicinity of the splashdown.
Let's listen back into NASA, and again, they'll let us know in about 5 minutes now if they have regained communication with those 4 astronauts.
As it enters the period of peak heating in the Earth's atmosphere, the first tug of gravity being felt by Integrity's astronauts since their launch back on April 1st.
And of course, we are thinking of the families of pilot Victor Glover, mission pilot, Reed Weissman, the commander.
4.5 minutes until the end of the blackout period.
Christina Cook, 4.5 minutes to go until we hear from them again.
Time
Jeremy
to splash
Hansen.
Down, 11 minutes, 33 seconds.
Of course, the Canadian astronaut. Everyone on board making history in their own way. The first Canadian to join them in a mission to the moon. This is the first time in many decades since the Apollo missions that we have sent humans back to the moon, and they made their own history, traveling farther than any astronauts who went before them, going to the far side of the moon and seeing with human eyes parts of the moon that have never been seen before, and sending back messages of hope and those extraordinary images. They have talked during their press conferences
the landing and support officer reports that the P-3 has acquisition on Integrity.
About the importance of coming home. It was Victor Glover himself who
3.5 minutes left in this blackout period.
There you see it.
This is a visualization.
Oh, visualization. So this is similar to the simulations we showed you earlier, only this one is from NASA. Let's listen.
Repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield.
I was saying Victor Glover, the mission pilot, was asked, what is he most looking forward to? And he said, Splashdown. And who could argue with that? He also talked about this being like riding a fireball through the atmosphere, this incredible moment. And this visualization from NASA helps to explain this, why there would be a blackout during this period of time. The families of all of these astronauts.
Flight Dynamics reports that airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on Integrity. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period. Time to splashdown, 9 minutes, 35 seconds.
9 minutes until splashdown. Let's keep this visualization, but if we could add, Dave, our director in the control room, Trevor Rull, who is at a watch party at the San Diego Air and Space Museum. And Trevor, I gather the nerves can be felt in that room right now.
As part of the recovery team, all that visuals on Integrity.
Absolutely, David, and what we are seeing is basically every single checkpoint that's being hit is being met with thunderous applause. You can hear a smattering right now. That's been happening continuously, 30 seconds after 30 seconds after 30 seconds after, and what we've been seeing are generations of families experiencing something that many of these people have never experienced before. I talked with one man here, an 86-year-old grandfather. He said he remembers watching the very first space launches. He remembers the Apollo flights. He remembers those first lunar missions. It inspired him to become a pilot and an engineer. Now, after 45 years of his own flight, he's retired. He is back here tonight with his grandchildren watching Artemis. And then at the same time, we're hearing from young people. There's two people behind me here, Lena, Olivia. These are students at UC San Diego who told me that they can't believe, when they learned about Artemis, they said, I can't believe it's happening in real life and not in the movies. That's how long it has been. What we've been hearing from family after family is that this is something that feels like a previous America would accomplish. Now, of course, we are in that tight window. Will it land safely? And of course, we know everyone's waiting on bated breath, but they are optimistic, David.
No question about that. A lot of optimism and a lot of prayers across this country tonight as we watch and wait for Artemis 2 to emerge in communication.
We're standing by for communications from the crew. We should be out of the blackout period less than a minute from now.
All right, let's listen. Less than a minute here to see if we can regain communications with the 4 astronauts on board: Victor Glover, Reed Weissman, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen.
We are now processing data from Integrity.
Which is a very good sign, right, Susan, that they are getting data. No communications yet with the astronauts, but they are receiving transmission from Integrity.
Now, this is great news.
Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone.
The vessels carrying the divers, members of the U.S. Navy standing by to race to that splashdown zone. And Susan, tell us what we're looking at right here.
It's the visual. It's the camera view of the reentry. It's no longer a visualization. And, you know, it looks healthy.
Well, they mentioned 6 minutes. We knew they would be 6 excruciating minutes, particularly.
Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're getting intermittent views of Integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post-blackout.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Incredible.
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
So there you have
Guys,
it.
looks good.
Artemis 2 responding
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
to mission control.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished with Commander Reed Wiseman. For America and a waiting world, Integrity is 5.5 minutes away from coming home.
Well, it's not often when you sit here at the anchor desk when you feel chills. This is certainly one of them. History being made tonight, Artemis 2, the first
Passing
mission
100,000 feet now.
in many decades, taking humans back to the moon. In fact, they went farther than
Range to splashdown 19 nautical miles.
19 nautical miles until splashdown. We were expecting it at about 8:06 or so Eastern time, 8:07 perhaps. So just about 5 minutes from now. They mention those divers are already en route. They clearly know where, certainly the
Integrity, impact to the camera controller fail is no Cab 1 views of the chutes.
we were expecting, hoping that we might get a view of some of these parachutes, though we're not entirely sure we will.
We're processing good data through the GPS system. A good view of Integrity. Time to splashdown 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes to splashdown. There's an elaborate sequence of parachutes here. The first deployed at around...
And a view of Integrity from the WB-57.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're at 50,000 feet.
At around 22,000 feet, you'll see the first parachutes here. Part of this sequence of chutes. I saw some movement right there. Was that a... There it is. You can see a flash of something. Not entirely sure
yet.
it's one of the
Pyros
chutes
are
yet.
armed for forward bay cover jettison.
A flicker of something just above.
Here, you're going to see the jettison and then the drogue chutes.
And they deploy at about 22,000 feet, right, Susan?
And they're the first ones to come out.
Yeah.
There they are.
There they are.
There they are right there.
And then
And there
there
go the first series of
other ones
parachutes.
right away.
And we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
Yep. The drogue.
Those parachutes right there will slow the spacecraft to about 200 miles an hour.
Next up.
We copy. We see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
Well, it's just incredible to think 4 human beings inside that capsule, right? Who have just seen the far side of the moon and come back to tell us about it. And what a bond we've witnessed from them. The hug.
Perfect descent rate according to flight dynamics.
Good rates on 2 drogues.
The symbol of the heart in their
We keep the
photographs
same on board.
that they sent back. And they named one of the craters in the moon that they discovered themselves after Reed Weissman's late wife, Carol. She died in 2020 of cancer. They'd been together for decades. And one of his fellow astronauts...
Passing through 10,000 feet.
Spoke of the moment.
Still on drogues.
Because Reed couldn't say it himself. Though he was moved, certainly, that the astronauts decided, let's name it after your late wife, Carol. So many stories they'll share with us. There's the second set right there.
Main chute deploy. We're at 5,000 feet.
The crew
Search and
we met
recovery beacon has been activated on Integrity.
The search and recovery beacon activated for those Navy divers who are
And we
now
have
racing to the
main
site.
chutes.
Out the window.
Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes.
This is picture perfect.
Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for Integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board.
Glad to hear
Time
it.
to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds.
1 minute, 15 seconds until splashdown in the Pacific Ocean off of San Diego. The USS John Murtha is in the region. Navy divers will race to the craft. They will deploy that inflatable around the capsule.
Integrity about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon.
I mean, these are words you have not heard in decades in this country. There are a lot of viewers watching tonight who remember this from the Apollo mission, several of them, those missions, but of course, a whole younger generation witnessing something that they've only read about in the history books. A little flash there at the capsule.
Passing through 1,000 feet.
Those 3 parachutes, of course, the end of that sequence, and certainly the ones that are doing most of the work in trying to slow this capsule, slow Integrity down to about 20 miles per hour. There's the splashdown.
Command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy Splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time.
Which, by the way, is exactly when NASA said it would happen. 7 minutes past the hour.
A new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Back on Earth, in the Pacific. The divers will get there. They will look at the outside of Integrity to make sure.
And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1.
Stable. There you go.
We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts.
We can breathe.
We can. We just want to see them now, right? And they will get to the craft, the divers. And as I was mentioning earlier, I just don't like to talk over NASA because they're so fascinating. I'm having fun listening in on them as well. But they will check the exterior of the capsule to make sure that there isn't any significant damage, to make sure it's safe to open the latch.
The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you.
Well, now they're just showing off. They tell us it's exactly when we said it would happen.
31 minutes, 35 seconds.
There will be an initial check.
And we're configuring for very low data rate.
They will initially check to make sure that all of the astronauts are feeling okay. And then they're going to take...
Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How us?
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post
making their
landing.
way to Integrity.
Perfect communications established.
We are told this is the first time that the U.S. Navy has teamed up with NASA to get to the crew on board, those 4 astronauts.
Houston copies all.
3 Americans, 1 Canadian.
4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
Yeah, that's going to be impressive at the Thanksgiving dinner to be able to say, we were the ones up there. We know that standing by are 2 Navy MH-60 helicopters. They actually have cameras on them. We're getting some of these images from those helicopters. They're going to be carrying them to the nearby ship, the USS Mirtha, which is waiting. They're going to put 2 of the astronauts on each helicopter. And I believe Christina Cook is going to be the first to emerge. Do we know who will emerge from the capsule?
Christina Cook is first.
Yeah. She'll be first, which seems appropriate. And Susan, you know all too well the relief, the sighs from these families waiting to see their loved ones.
We continue to monitor.
I imagine there were tears from all of them, every one of them, tears of joy, of relief, of happiness. They must have held their breath for the last 30 minutes.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members, meaning they're all in excellent shape.
Who knew that green crew members is code for excellent shape? Usually when you see someone green, although I wouldn't be surprised if they did look a little green after what they've just been through. But that's not what it means. It simply means they are in great shape. The divers reaching.
Our beacon is in 406, and we're powering the radio now. Go ahead.
We see the beacon on. However, the recovery team is not seeing the signal. Your SAW radio uses the same antenna, so you may run into trouble with the radio.
Copy, and we are also powering up.
So we're about to witness an extraordinary moment where we will see the hatch lifted, and then the astronauts, again, as I mentioned, will be checked for a quick medical evaluation before something far more extensive on board the USS Mertha.
As the crew continues its post-splashdown,
they'll be taken away by those 2 helicopters
on board. Reed Wiseman once again reporting that all 4 crew members are in excellent shape. And we have 5 inflated airbags to maintain an upright configuration.
I want to bring in Dr. Arian Anderson. He's an emergency medicine physician trained in aerospace engineering.
A slow approach to the
you would know better than us that when you hear they're green, which means they're in excellent health, and we're hearing from the commander, Reed Wiseman, who's in the capsule, who says the rest of the 3 are in perfect health. That's got to be great news for you to hear too, Dr. Anderson.
After a thorough system
that's as good as it gets, and that's kind of the first evaluation of the astronaut crew. Is they all kind of look left and right, give each other the thumbs up, and when the first recovery team gets there and takes a look in the hatch, they kind of do the similar and make sure that everybody's feeling okay before, you're right, they go on to do more extensive medical evaluation and even a little bit of research testing as soon as they get their feet on solid ground again.
They'll be given the opportunity to stay at a hotel in San Diego if they just want a little time to readjust before being taken to Houston. But Dr. Anderson, I gather they'll go straight to Houston. Look what they've just been through.
Yeah, I think they're probably eager first to see their families, eager to, I think, greet the people of the world and just celebrate this exciting journey we've all been on.
Cody Page also with us here tonight, National Geographic Explorer, professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia, and the former director of MIT Space Exploration Initiative. And Cody, I know you have studied all too well the re-entry and the stakes, and knowing that heat shield, the job it had to perform. And we have witnessed history tonight. It did exactly as NASA was hoping.
Some trouble with the SARSAT phone on board, but that's not an issue. What is more important is that
Cody, can you hear me?
The vehicle is solid.
Yes, yeah. It's honestly, sorry, I was listening to NASA there. It's been, the whole mission, I feel like, has just been incredible, that it's been exactly how it's supposed to be. So the way that heat shield worked and the parachutes deployed and everything, the timing, it's a testament to exactly how perfectly NASA plans these things. It's so exciting.
It really is. Cody, thanks so much. Dr. Oluseyi also still with us. The anxiety gone? We wanted to check back in with you and make sure you're breathing okay.
Oh, man, I had a huge sigh of relief when I saw that 3rd parachute that looked like it was having a little trouble fully deploy, right? And now
mission control report
they've made it safely.
It's really incredible news. Now we just wait to see the divers get to the capsule and open the hatch. Hakeem, thanks so much. Asa Stahl, also with us, science editor from the Planetary Society.
Integrity, Houston did not call.
The history that's been made right here tonight with generations watching. And as I mentioned earlier, so many of our viewers remember the Apollo missions, but there are so many others who have not witnessed something quite like this before.
Yeah, this was truly spectacular. I mean, I didn't realize I was holding my breath, but I was at the launch and it felt... Sorry,
yeah, we can hear you. Please go. Yeah, you're
okay,
you're
cool.
doing just fine.
Just also hearing the NASA broadcast. Yeah, it was at the launch just as almost surreal to see that we actually did it. It worked. And it was just so inspiring to see this is what we're capable of if we only try, if we make the investment in ourselves and in NASA. So I think a lot of people, millions of people around the world are seeing this and feeling inspired and ready to celebrate.
And Asa, take us through these next few steps, because this really was the first step in what could be an extraordinary next couple of years here. The next Artemis mission will do some additional testing, and then the one that follows could be the one that actually lands on the moon.
The 3 main chutes.
That's exactly right. And I tell you, after watching this, I can't wait for the next one. 2026 or 2027 could not come soon enough. That's when Artemis 3 will happen. As you just said, that's going to be another crewed flight test, but it's not going to go to the moon and back like Artemis 2 has. It's going to test out the spacecraft and docking procedures in orbit around Earth. And then Artemis 4, if all goes well, will happen in 2028, and that will be the actual lunar landing mission. And then it's hopefully off to the races.
And
NASA's trying to do this every 6 months.
And we know that 2 astronauts will be on board that mission to land?
Yes, that's right.
Really just incredible. And good for you for being at the launch as well, remembering both ends of this extraordinary journey.
15 minutes.
Let's listen into mission control.
Power down delay.
All right, Jackie, we have selected T/D+30. No joy on SAR radio or sound phone. And stand by. We have the master diver on SAR radio. Please hold comms.
Hey, Lily. Excuse me. Hey, Jackie. We just got the master diver on SAR.
8:22 was the timing that NASA had said there would be a capsule power down, is what they call it. There is some word that power down might be somewhat delayed here, but you can see those teams.
A good view of one of the fast boats.
There you go.
Integrity Houston, if you are happy with your comm with Master Diver, you can go back to the 15-minute power down.
One of the fast boats circling Integrity right now.
Okay, stand by. Yeah, we'll confirm here in a second.
They were able to get
the crew
there
on board Integrity coordinating with the flight control team in Houston here in Mission Control on the timing of the power down of the vehicle, which will be the precursor to the recovery teams approaching the spacecraft. There are no issues with Integrity. We've had a bit of broken capability in establishing a SARSAT or satellite phone communications capability between the crew on board Integrity and the recovery team. That will get sorted out here shortly.
Yeah, blame it on the satellite phone.
There's plenty of cooling
because
on
everything
board
else was
Integrity.
picture perfect here.
So there's
if
no
you're
rush
wondering
to
how
begin
these
the
dive
power
teams
down.
were able to get here so quickly, it's because the USS Murtha,
Not getting an answer there
the
either.
amphibious naval ship, was just about 1.5 miles from the splashdown point. Will Reeve standing by in Southern California. And Will, I'm not sure if you heard the sonic boom, but off in a distance in the ocean there, this is picture perfect.
Yeah, David, there's a lot of folks out here at the beach who were hoping to hear the sonic boom. They kept coming by asking us if they were going to see the splashdown or hear it, and unfortunately, no dice. But everybody knows that out there, the crew safely splashed down and that the rest of the protocols are happening as they should be, every precaution being taken, every item on the checklist being taken care of, and a sense of excitement here in San Diego. This feels like these astronauts who went further than anyone has ever traveled before in the history of mankind, they returned here to Southern California. People are pretty excited about that here, even if they didn't hear the sonic boom. We were looking forward to that. Maybe next mission.
Maybe the next mission. There are going to be a couple more Artemis missions now that this one has been successful. You can see the teams in the water there, just off the coast of San Diego. And as Will was saying, there's a lot of pride there in San Diego that they've been part of this history. Recovery teams are going to secure some lines here. They're waiting for the power down before they can get any closer to the capsule. Delayed, NASA says, because of some issues with the satellite communication.
Called the front porch. That will be the port of call for the crew as they're being extracted one by one from the vehicle.
You heard him mention the front porch that I had mentioned earlier. That's the inflatable, nicknamed front porch because they'll step out onto their porch, and they've earned that moment.
Integrity Houston, for sat phone, we are going to attempt to call you.
Good idea, standing by.
And Jackie, yes, we are pushing the push to talk, the 2 buttons on the left side of the radio below the up-down arrows. We are utilizing them. I'm rebooting the radio to see if we get good comms.
Okay, we copy all, and just to confirm, you are seeing that you're touchdown plus 3030 for power, correct?
Well,
that's the affirmative.
NASA astronauts, they're just like us, rebooting the satellite phone to try to regain communication here before they can power down Susan. And that's then the moment when the divers can really move in.
Right. It's like the power cycle that you do at home when your Wi-Fi isn't working. It's the same sort of thing. But to have come this far and everything work well, and this is the thing that is delaying them getting out of the capsule, is almost comical. But I remember in the Apollo days, it was the same. Once the splashdown, any number of things could still go wrong. So, like I said, the families aren't going to breathe until they're out of the capsule and on the ship.
To begin the process,
which will happen soon.
The large inflatable raft.
The inflatable raft.
The front porch.
The front porch he's talking about.
Will be where the astronauts are extracted from, so that they can have a few minutes to get their land legs back before they're hoisted aboard the Navy helicopters for the flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha.
And Gio, you were lucky enough to talk to the astronauts at the very beginning of their journey.
I was the first, David. I realized that later on. 20,000 miles away they were, and we were able to speak with them. And it was remarkable because I remember speaking with Victor Glover and saying to him, with so much division that we see in this country, what do you see when you look down on planet Earth? And he said, I see one. I see one humanity. And then there was that reminder that he had just before they lost communications the first time as they went around the moon, when he repeated those words from Jesus, when he said the greatest commandment is to love one another. And then we had that blackout behind the moon. It was remarkable to hear those really human stories.
No question about that. And these astronauts seem fully aware of, the times that we're in and sort of the political divide and all of the stuff that we also take in on a daily basis. And they knew that what they were doing was hopefully achieving sort of making history in their journey to the moon and back, and they certainly have done that. And they were in this most recent press conference that they did on the eve of their return, very clear that while we have enjoyed these images and seen those moments where there was real camaraderie, the brothers and sister on that capsule in embracing one another, but most importantly, they wanted to be able to bring all of this back. They said they had so much more to do with what they had discovered while in space, what they had seen on the far side of the moon.
Is there any chance to tie us into NRD?
We know these teams will conduct a quick hazard assessment in the water before actually opening the hatch as well. There you see one of those MH-30 helicopters, MH-60 copters, which will transport the astronauts from the raft right back to the USS John Murtha, which is only about 1.5 miles from the splashdown site. We know in the first helicopter, mission specialist Christina Cook, pilot Victor Glover. Victor, of course, is the one who said it's like riding a fireball through the atmosphere, Houston, and they have landed now in the Pacific.
For the establishment of communications between Integrity and the recovery team that is basically standing by very close to the spacecraft. We're going to go to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha, where Megan Cruz is standing by with Administrator Jared Isaacman.
The second helicopter will carry mission specialist Jeremy Hansen. Of course, the Canadian on board who made history as well, and Commander Reed Weissman. And Commander Weissman is the one who lost his wife, Carol. And it was that team in space together who decided, let's name one of the craters we've discovered and seen with our own eyes after Carol.
I'm honestly, I'm still at a loss for words. like the childhood Jared right now can't believe what I just saw. Almost been waiting my whole lifetime to see this, and then it's NASA administrator. I just couldn't be more proud of the entire workforce, the years, the effort, the late nights, all the hard work from across the country that contributed to this incredible moment right now. And incredibly grateful too for our teams here on the John P. Murtha right now.
Yeah, look at the behind us here.
Got everybody. Hey, what do you guys think? We just brought some astronauts back from the moon, huh? Unbelievable. Thank you. Yeah, so grateful to the Navy, the sailors that are here, the NASA teams. This is a joint effort that's on their way right now. These recovery forces are getting out to our Orion spacecraft, to Integrity, to get our astronauts back on the ship safely.
That's the team at NASA celebrating their history being made as they should. as we await for communication between the dive teams and Integrity right there in the water.
Take away from this. Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis 2 crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.
I love that. He said that we are back in the business of traveling to the moon. Just a few moments left for this special report. And Susan, I just wanted your thoughts. I love that he said they were ambassadors of humanity, going to the moon and back, and now they've come back and they've really taught us all, reminded us all what unity really looks like.
Yes, they have done the incredible, and their lives have changed forever because they will forever be ambassadors for humanity.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for being here, former NASA astronaut yourself. We are going to come back on the air when we do see those astronauts for the first time. I look forward to showing you that moment. In the meantime, we'll go back to regular programming. I'm David Muir here in New York. We'll see you shortly to see the astronauts. Good night.
And here we go. 10, 2, 1, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon.
Phenomenal. You guys look great.
We have confirmation of crew module, service module separation.
Integrity, good. CM raised burn. Your flight path angle is within limits.
And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. Main chute deployed.
Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
4 green crew members are all in excellent shape.
This has been an ABC News special, Artemis 2, coming home.
Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth.
Special Artemis 2 coverage continues now on ABC News Live. And welcome again to our friends joining us from National Geographic. I'm Mike Ajachi in New York. The Artemis 2 astronauts splashing back down on Earth on board the Orion spacecraft. An incredible scene as they completed their historic moon mission. Recovery teams now working to airlift the crew in helicopters from the Orion spacecraft to the USS John P. Murtha, where a medical team will evaluate them. Now to ABC News' Trevor Ault at a watch party at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. Trevor, this moment felt unreal, but it was in fact very real. You watched it on the big screen there. Tell me what the energy is like there, witnessing history.
I mean, it was astounding, Ike. When you talk about the cheer, it was the kind of cheer that you can only get from a group of people who are experiencing history, because it was not just a celebration of victory, it was also that profound sense of relief. We knew as it was getting closer and closer, as they first re-entered the atmosphere, the cheers would get louder and louder in every checkpoint. They would increase in volume, but then as we got closer to the splashdown, things quieted down to the point of silence until it was confirmed that they had landed safely safely. Now, of course, we're in a bit of a holding pattern as we wait for that recovery, but it was truly astounding watching the generations of people here at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego, not too far from where the splashdown just occurred. And you saw parents holding their children, wiping away tears, kids going crazy, clapping, seeing this for the very first time. So many people seeing this for the very first time. And of course, some grandparents here who remember watching the very first space launches. I had talked, as I said before, to an 86-year-old who said he remembered those first space launches, the Apollo flights, the lunar missions that inspired him to become a pilot and an engineer. He flew for 45 years. He's now retired, and tonight he's here with his grandfather. Now, I had asked him beforehand, are you nervous at all about the re-entry? And he said, no, this is the easy part. But sure enough, once we entered that blackout window, that 6-minute period, he's, of course, still wearing his pilot watch, and every 10 seconds he'd flip it over and he would look down as that clock got lower and lower. And then finally, it was confirmed that they had made it here safely. And you could see his relief as he sat there experiencing that, taking in another victory, just as he had going back to the 1950s, as his wife next to him stood up and cheered, his grandson on the other side stood up and cheered. And we saw that from so many families here, more than 1,000 people. One of the comms workers here at this museum, I had said beforehand, this is probably going to be the biggest night of the year for you, right? And he said, this is probably our biggest night in 20 years. We've heard from so many people, especially young people, some young science students here, college students, who told me explicitly they couldn't believe this is happening in real life. In their experience, this is something that only happens in the movies. But this is very real, and there are a lot of people here, as there are a lot of people across America, who are experiencing this feeling for the very first time.
You know, Trevor, right now, the Artemis 2, they are powering down. The extraction is beginning. We've been talking about this mission as a turning point. Based on the crowd that you've been interacting the entire day, do you think that this mission has broken through beyond the space enthusiast community?
Will be hoisted in sequential fashion and alternating fashion, 2 crew members for each helicopter.
I mean, I think that it has to, Ike, when you talk about the response going back for our generations here, and we have so many children who are still so excited here. This is something that so many people, what we kept hearing over and over is, I've never experienced this before. And really the sentiment was, this is something that it felt like a previous America would do, something that we would learn about in history books, but not something that we do right now. I also have to imagine that just as Reggie, that 86-year-old grandfather, said he was inspired to become a pilot, what you have are probably a lot of people, a lot of young children who are probably feeling inspired right now, who will likely go on to careers in science. A lot of people, a lot of young children who now probably want to try to be astronauts. People that may not have felt that desire until right now. It is so obvious the impact felt on everyone. And then, of course, you have that collective sense of American pride, which is also something that a lot of people say that they have not been feeling. Of course, had a USA chant going on moments after that splashdown here. It is so obvious the profound impact that is being felt on this crowd, and it's so obvious also that this is something that people have not felt in a long time, if ever.
All right, Trevor Ault, thank you for that perspective. ABC News transportation correspondent Gio Benitez joins me now. Gio, I mean, just seeing that Artemis 2 capsule splash down on the water, seeing those parachutes rest on the surface of the water, it was a feeling of mission accomplished.
It was mission accomplished. It was truly incredible and remarkable to see how picture perfect this was from the launch all the way to this landing. In fact, the first issue we really saw was the satellite phone once they were already there in the water. So just like us, they too have reception issues, apparently. Right. It's all happens when you're back on Earth. But it was remarkable to see this. It was remarkable to see those parachutes looking beautiful. Everything was picture perfect. Those 6 minutes, though, I was holding my breath. My heart was racing. I think that's what was happening all across America, all across the world as they were watching that play out. But again, that moment when you hear the astronauts say, integrity, this is Houston, this is integrity, we hear you. I think a lot of sighs of relief right there.
Oh, absolutely. Now, right now, we know the capsule is powering down. That extraction mission right now, that's going on right now, obviously trying to get them out. What can we expect when that hatch opens up for the first time?
Well, we'll be able to see Christina Cook come out first. She's going to be coming out first. The last person to come out will be the commander, Reed Weissman. And I think it's going to be remarkable to see. People have been saying ladies first, so that's suitable right there. So Christina Cook will be the first one. And then after that, at that moment, they will be taken, they'll be airlifted from there with helicopters and taken to the USS Mirtha. That's where they're going to stay for a bit. They're going to be medically evaluated, make sure everything's good. At some point later tonight or tomorrow morning, they'll actually go to the naval base in San Diego, and that's when they'll begin that journey home to Houston and go to the Johnson Space Center and reunite with their families at some point during this. And I can imagine that's the moment they can't wait for.
You know, we saw a lot of history during this mission. Obviously, Christina Cook. We saw Victor Glover being the first black man in space. How many other momentous moments did we experience throughout this entire journey?
Oh, I mean, so many. You had also Jeremy Hansen becoming the first Canadian to go to the moon. This was actually, by the way, his first time going to space, period.
Wow.
So what a first trip to space, going farther than any other human has gone before. And that's one that we saw that it was over 4,000 miles farther than any other human has gone before. And so it's remarkable to see that. Also, I want to talk about the science, because there's science that's happening there that really has implications for the rest of us. They called it the Avatar Project, the Avatar Experiment, where they actually take their own human cells to see if they can read with these human cells. They're like little chips or discs with their human cells. Wow. They're hoping to see how the radiation there in space affected those cells, and if it matches, how it affected their bodies. Because then they could really use these chips, these avatar chips, to put them in all sorts of different situations for people even here on Earth to test out how bodies will react. It's remarkable what was happening.
I just love the science that's been integrated throughout this entire mission, especially the way that they've just packaged it for all of us to really understand what's going on. And, you know, this is a successful mission, obviously having the crew splash down in the Pacific, but NASA says this is a test flight, right?
This is still a test flight. This was always a test flight. And that's what's remarkable. So the first one, Artemis 1, 2022, that was a test flight with no humans on board. That worked remarkably well as well. Then you have this one, Artemis 2. Artemis 3 will be a test flight as well. That one's going to go around low Earth orbit. And they're going to be testing specifically all of the systems on board. That is to test the actual Orion itself and to put it through a stress test to also go ahead and dock it and all of those things. And then eventually Artemis 4 in 2028. That is the mission to land humans on the moon. And that one will be considered, I guess, not test flight.
Right. And I do want to comment on the crew in and of itself. You know, there were so many special moments throughout this entire mission. Yeah. Seeing the braids inside the capsule with the Earth in the background, you know what I mean? Or just seeing the wonderment from the crew when they had that lunar eclipse with their glasses on, you know what I mean? This crew had a special way of connecting with the entire world. Why do you think that they felt like such a perfect crew?
Well, first of all, they are incredible human beings, incredible human beings. And that moment that I don't think there was a dry eye anywhere when they saw it, that moment when they saw that crater, and it was an unnamed crater, and they decided to name it after Reed Weissman's late wife, who died of cancer in 2020, Carol. And so they named it Carol. And they spelled it out, and you heard the emotion in their voices and that they shared after. This is a crew that loves each other. They are deeply human. They know that humanity, and they look down on Earth and they saw one humanity, and that was beautiful.
One humanity. I love that. What a message to be given from this mission.
Absolutely.
Gio, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, now let's get to ABC News' Will Reeve on Coronado Island in the San Diego Bay. Will, been loving your coverage so far. The astronauts, they're expected to be on board the ship soon. What happens then?
That's right, Ike. We got one part of it down. They've successfully splashed down, but now there's a whole checklist that they have to go through as those divers and boats and everything approach the capsule and begin extraction. Then there's a very specific protocol I'll read off to you here. The crew gets transferred to the front porch. That's a raft that was actually made in New Mexico by Jack's Plastic Welding in Aztec, New Mexico. Took 528 hours to build. So they'll get taken on the raft, moved away from the capsule itself, and then they will be helicoptered out in a specific order. They will have Christina Koch, Victor Glover, Jeremy Hansen, Reed Weissman will go last. They'll get helicoptered out, and then they will go to the USS Mirtha, and then they will go through a medical assessment and probably take a breath for a second. They've been through a lot. And then ultimately, they will return to land here in Coronado, and then finally after that, got to catch another connecting flight. They got to go to Houston for a debrief on the mission, but that won't happen until very, very many hours from now, Ike.
All right, Will Reeve, thank you for that update. And for more, let's bring in reporter Nick Notario from our Houston station, KTRK. He's live at the Johnson Space Center for the latest from Mission Control. Now, Nick, we know right now those boats that are supposed to be taking the crew out of the water, they are currently circling the Artemis 2 craft. They're checking for any hazardous gases or materials that may have been emanated from that from the capsule as it splashed down there on the Pacific. So it looks like right now the recovery mission is going well. It's successful at the point. So how is the team at Mission Control feeling?
Well, we heard them shortly after Splashdown, and they all sounded extremely excited. It wasn't just in Mission Control here at JSC that's excited. In the theater out here where they have media from around the globe stationed, when they lost contact for those 6 minutes or so, you could hear a pin drop. And then as soon as we heard Reed Wiseman's voice, you could hear a round of applause inside the theater. And then again, more applause once they splashed down in the Pacific Ocean. We're waiting to hear more from Mission Control. We actually haven't seen any images yet from Mission Control, but when we were talking to flight directors for the past 10 days or so, they all said they could not wait to see the splashdown on their screens right there in Mission Control, and that's when they say they would celebrate.
Now, Nick, the astronauts, they're going to take a flight home to Houston and the Johnson Space Center. How will they be putting the finishing touches on the mission?
Well, what they're going to be doing before they even get on that flight, they're going to be going through a series of studies once they get on board, and they're going to be checking for their things like their balance and such to see exactly how they're doing. Not just checking them over physically, but also looking for other things because, remember, they were in deep space for 10 days. Then they're going to board a plane, come to Houston. They're going to land at Ellington Airport, which is not, if you've flown to Houston, you may have flown into Bush or Hobby. It's another airport, Ellington, that NASA uses. And at the airport, the astronauts' families are going to be waiting for them. We know that they are here in Houston. They're not out in California. They were in Mission Control, and they said, and when we were listening to the broadcast, you could hear them say that there was a loud round of applause from Mission Control in the viewing area once they reestablished contact after they weren't able to talk to the astronauts for several minutes. And I'm sure, like, that was the family not only giving a breath of sigh of relief, but also celebrating the fact that their loved ones made it through that time period.
And Nick, hold on 1 second. We want to listen into Mission Control as they're continuing this recovery effort.
Dynamics, and received a more official touchdown time or splashdown time, as it were, of 7:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time, 5:07 and 27 seconds p.m. Pacific Time. That would equate to a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 15 seconds.
You heard Mission Control there saying that the mission lasted just over 9 days. Right now, we are waiting for that hatch to reopen. We know crews are circling that Artemis 2 spacecraft, checking for any kind of hazardous materials or gases that could come from that craft, obviously, after coming in from space. Nick, I hope you're still there with me. When will they be reuniting with their families and friends?
Well, we know it'll be sometime Saturday. What we're hearing is probably in the afternoon, evening is when they get back here to Houston. It all depends on what happens now. After they pull them out of their hatch, of course, they got to check them over, and then they'll eventually make their way here to Houston. So it'll be at some point tomorrow. Like I said, probably some point in the afternoon, and then they're going to be able to, finally hug their loved ones, meet with family and friends when they get here off the airport. We're allowed there at the airport to see that moment, and it's going to be something quite special. So that's going to happen at some point tomorrow, and then eventually they're going to meet with us here at Johnson Space Center and talk about this incredible mission that they all just took part in. And we're going to hear from Mission Control in person in the next couple of hours. They're going to meet with the media, answer our questions, see what went wrong, and I'm sure everyone's going to be asking, okay, after this successful test flight, when's number 3? Because that was incredible what they just accomplished after 50 years of not going to the moon, making it back successfully. And, it was just, unbelievable to see that and see the reaction here at JSC, everyone that's worked years to make today happen.
Right now, you are looking at the Artemis 2 capsule in the Pacific Ocean. You are seeing the United States Navy working in conjunction with NASA, those naval boats circling the Artemis 2 spacecraft, checking for any kind of hazardous materials. We also saw a helicopter that has been circling the Artemis 2. We do know that helicopter will be airlifting the crew members outside of that Orion spacecraft once the hatch opens up. Nick, I want to ask you one more question. We do know now that the Artemis 2 mission is successful. So when does the team begin to start shifting their focus to the Artemis 3 mission?
Well, you know, a number of NASA flight directors and even the administrator was asked about that during this mission, and they kept wanting to say, well, we're focused on this one. But at the same time, they have to understand that they're already racing for Artemis 3, about a year away, and then Artemis 4, less than 2 years away. And keep in mind, this crew that's on the capsule about to come out, they've been working on this mission for 3 years. So they've had that much time to prepare for something like this, where these other crews are going to have less than 2 years. So NASA's already getting ready for those next missions. There's not a lot of time, they know that, but NASA says it's full steam ahead. So it's going to be some very, very busy months and weeks right here at the Johnson Space Center here in Houston.
All right, Nick Notario from our ABC station in Houston, KTRK. Thanks a lot. Joining me now on set is former NASA astronaut and two-time space shuttle pilot Susan Kilrain. Susan, always a pleasure to talk to you. Okay, from your vantage point as a former pilot, does it look like re-entry was successful from you? You know, we saw the drogue shoots, we saw the main shoots, we saw the splashdown. Did that go the way it was supposed to?
It went exactly the way it was supposed to. And I mean, ear to ear smiles, and I hope everybody got to see it in some way, because everything lined up perfectly. Their attitude was perfect. It looks like the heat shield did its job perfectly. The crew is feeling great. Their condition is green, meaning that they all feel great. And the parachutes worked perfectly. Now if we could just get them out, which I believe we're just about ready to do, because now the rescue boat is right up against Orion, ready for Christina, who will be coming out first.
That's right, Christina Cook. She is the one expected to come out first in that Orion spacecraft. You can see right now those Navy divers are right up against that hatch. We should be expecting to see that hatch open up in just a few short moments right now. Susan, the Orion, you can see it right now. It's bobbing up and down in the Pacific. Right now, the crew, they're finally back under Earth's gravity. How do you expect they'll see the rest of their lives differently based on the fact that they just came from hundreds of thousands of miles out away in space? How do you think they're going to see the world differently now?
Their lives are changed forever. They are now humanity's spokespeople. I mean, they will never be the same. They have seen things we've never seen, nobody else has ever seen. They've done things nobody else has ever done. And so they are forever changed. And they will be pivotal in getting Artemis 3 off the ground. They will be educating the next crew on what to expect and how the vehicle handles and the part that they're going through right now, the recovery efforts, what that's like. I mean, it's been decades since we've splashed down after a trip to the moon. So, I mean, their lives have changed forever.
Oh, absolutely. Susan Kilrain, thank you so much for your perspective. It's been so valuable tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joining me now is National Geographic explorer and professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia University, Cody Page. Cody, thank you for joining me. Cody, can you tell me about your feeling witnessing this historic mission come to such a successful end today?
It's incredible. This has been, I mean, all 10 days of this has been incredible. The lead up was incredible. I am so excited for this crew, and I'm so excited for the science team. This is when everything gets really exciting for them. The work really begins for them now. And just seeing the astronauts about to come out here, this is like just so perfect.
You know, right now we are waiting for the raft to deploy. That's how we know those astronauts will be coming out of that spacecraft, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that. You're also the former director of the MIT Space Exploration Initiative. Can you tell us a bit about the experiments that were conducted on this mission? What can we expect to learn in the coming days?
A lot about radiation and about the health of our astronauts and how we can make sure to protect the astronauts going forward for the many Artemis missions to come. The radiation experiments are particularly interesting for me. It's something I studied and worked on. But the different experiments will tell us about how radiation in space affects our bodies and affects these astronauts as they go deeper and deeper into space. And that is critical for future Artemis missions.
All right, Cody, we know the Artemis 2, they're splashed out in the Pacific Ocean right now, bobbing up and down. We know the Navy boats are surrounding them, trying to get that raft. Can you give us a better explainer about what exactly we're watching right now?
Yeah, they're making sure that everything is going to be lined up and that they can get these astronauts out safely. Obviously, there's a lot of waves in the ocean. There are dangers that can happen. They want to make sure that these astronauts will come out in a very safe manner. So as with everything NASA does, it is done meticulously well and well planned. So that's what we're watching here, is this plan being put into execution.
Now, what could the geology observed on the far side of the moon teach us for future missions? The search for water, ice, maybe?
Yes, that is a huge part of what we're learning on this mission. And why I said this is the exciting part for the science team, because now they get to really start digging into all of the images that came back and the descriptions that were said. You probably heard a lot of words like albedo being talked about, the shininess of the lunar surface, and that can tell us about where we might find water ice, which will be critical in where we set up this moon base that will be a jumping off point for future missions to Mars.
Also, this was a multinational venture. Agencies from around the world are involved in this mission. And Canadian crew member Jeremy Hansen, he's the first non-American to travel to lunar distance. You're Canadian yourself. What does this mission mean for you personally and for the world?
First, it makes me so incredibly proud to be Canadian and Jeremy, and that he's done this for Canada and for the world. I think what this mission does is it allows the rest of the world to really see themselves as being part of these missions, and it allows us to envision ourselves as astronauts and space explorers, and hopefully have the next generation grow up to be astronauts and explorers as well around the world.
Now, I also want to ask you a question. You know, you're a professor, you're a teacher, you have students. What's the one lesson from this splashdown that you hope to take back?
That planning is critical and execution comes from great planning. This was such an incredible splashdown. It followed exactly how it was supposed to. We saw that it landed down to the minute when NASA planned for that splashdown to happen, which comes from many, many years of planning, and the execution was just perfect.
All right. Thank you so much, Cody Page, for that. Joining me now is astrophysicist and science editor for the Planetary Society, Asa Stahl. Asa, it's been more than 50 years since NASA has made an attempt of this magnitude. What kind of data are we getting from this mission that we've never been able to collect before?
Well, it is a completely singular moment. History has been made here. And scientifically, what we can get out of this is really significant. We haven't had humans out to the moon beyond low Earth orbit, like you said, in over 50 years. So, we're going to be collecting from the crew right now some information once they come out and are going through their medical checks. We're going to be looking at how they readjust to gravity after going that distance, and also how they readjust after being exposed to that sort of radiation environment. But there's also these experiments that have gone along with the crew to study things like that radiation environment, that microgravity, what it's like to live in a space so confined with 3 other people for 10 full days. All of these things NASA is going to be looking more into, taking away from this mission as they prepare to send humans for longer back to the moon and maybe even further in the future.
All right, I want to take a look right now at the footage that we're seeing. The hatch on the Artemis 2 is officially open.
Wow.
You can take a look right now. Those Navy divers are going in there. They're trying to deploy that raft. We know the medics, they are the first people who are going in. Remember, they're going to do that preliminary checkup on the 4 astronauts, Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, Jeremy Hansen. Those medics, they're going in there to make sure those 4 astronauts are okay. Obviously, that's before their full medical checkup once they get back on that naval ship. Just give me your reaction there right now, Asa, to seeing this hatch door open and eventually seeing those astronauts come back down and experience that Earth's air for the first time in almost 10 days.
It is a beautiful sight. I mean, I don't know about you, but my face is tired from smiling. I think probably millions of people around the world watching this feel the same way. I mean, you can only feel like proud to be a human being when you watch something like this. And I just can't wait to see their faces themselves, these astronauts. I hope that they're doing okay. It sounds like they are. And I'm especially excited to see them reunited with their families and the grins on their faces then, because I was at Kennedy Space Center. I saw them say goodbye in person. And, these are real people. Everyone who is on this mission, everyone who worked on this mission, they're just people. And so to know that they all are having this full spectrum of emotions right now, that they've gone through this incredible adventure, and now here they are back, you just want to greet them with everything you have.
All right, let's listen in right now. They're working to deploy the front porch and the stabilization collar. Let's listen in.
The recovery ship here. And so as we wait for the Navy and NASA personnel to get their assessment of the crew inside of Orion, why don't we toss it back to Rob for an update?
Yeah, thank you, Megan. Here in Mission Control, Flight Director Rick Henfling and the entry team of flight controllers still on duty. The vehicle has been powered down for some time now. There are no hazardous gases emanating from Integrity. That, of course, allowed the recovery personnel to approach the vehicle and then open the hatch to begin the initial medical assessment of the crew, as you just indicated. Now we're standing by for the erection of that inflatable raft, the front porch, alongside of the vehicle that will enable the crew to be extracted one by one onto the raft, have a moment or two to get their land legs back before they're hoisted into 2 hovering Navy helicopters, 2 crew members for each helicopter, for a short flight back to the deck of the USS John P. Murtha. All of Integrity's systems operated flawlessly throughout the course of the approach to the Earth, the entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and all of the key milestones that followed in this high-speed return to Earth for Integrity. A mission that spanned more than 694,000 miles from the vehicle's launch from the Kennedy Space Center atop the Space Launch System back on April 1st.
You're hearing ground control there. Explain what's going on. You heard them say that there were no gases around the Artemis 2, which allowed those naval boats to get in there and essentially start the recovery process. You see them approach there. 4 medics went in there to check on the astronauts, Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen. And they're essentially waiting to deploy the front porch and stabilization collar, which will allow the naval crews to pull out the astronauts one by one. We know Christina Cook will be the first astronaut that emerges from the Artemis 2 chamber there. And we do also know that once they do come out, they will be put on the USS John P. Murtha, where they will go through an extensive medical checkup. I want to bring back Asa Stahl, Planetary Society science editor. Asa, for people under 55 years old, this is the first time they've ever seen anything like this live. How do you think that will shape the way this generation relates to space exploration?
Well, as one of those people who is under 55, I have to say, for all of us, this is the moment when space exploration became personal. We were along for the ride with these astronauts. We saw what they saw when they took those photos. We've been watching the live streams. We saw the Nutella flyby, right? We've been there almost.
As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the last time that the Apollo program saw a splashdown in the Pacific was Apollo 17 back on December 19th, 1972. So for the first time in 53 and a half years, we have reenacted that with the arrival of Integrity's astronauts as they flew around the moon in that historic lunar flyby that began with a trans-lunar injection burn that took them out of Earth orbit following 24 hours of a high Earth orbit trajectory. The high Earth orbit trajectory enabled flight controllers here to have a full 24 hours to evaluate the systems on Integrity and the condition of the crew before they would commit to flying to the moon.
Asa, you heard him there, 55 years. You know, with this mission now safely in the books, how do you think this changes the way you think about the feasibility of getting to Mars?
Well, Mars is a pretty different story than the moon, but this is a stepping stone for sure. The radiation environment is going to be harsher toward Mars because it's just a much longer distance. This was a 10-day total trip. The round trip to Mars would be closer to about 3 years. So there's a lot that we still have to figure out there. But as we move forward with Artemis and begin to set up sustainable exploration on the lunar surface, it is all, I think, eventually building toward those first boot prints on another planet. It's just a question of when.
All right, Asa, thank you so much for that perspective. Now to ABC News' Trevor Ault at a watch party at the Air and Space Museum in San Diego. Trevor, this moment felt unreal, but you know, it was in fact very real. You watched it on the big screen there. Can you tell me what the energy is like there witnessing history?